And we are live for our 16th straight Thursday night game. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to the New York Jets. There is weather to be aware of in this game. We have 30 plus mile an hour wind gusts in this game, along with heavy rain throughout the game. 30 plus mile an hour wind gusts along with heavy rain. This is going to impact the game. I believe this will impact the game, and it is impacting a lot of the start sits tonight. I think it has to impact a lot of the start sits. It's the second week of the fantasy playoffs. How are we doing, everybody? If I sound a little raspy, I'm for sure sick. I'm going to do my best to get through the stream. Nonetheless, this is our 16th straight Thursday night, man. I'm not letting a little cold get in the way of the playoffs in the semifinals, says Brendan on the YouTube live. We're live on TikTok and YouTube. Why is it backwards? You mean my hat? I think it's just the way the camera works. Need a pick because one plays tonight. Oh, Zonovan Knight or Jerick McKinnon. Yeah, so the Chiefs, Jerick McKinnon, not a lot of people trusted him last week. It was a good spot against the Texans. He pops off again. This week they get the Seahawks, another really good spot for running backs. I think I'd probably lean McKinnon. Have we gotten an update yet? I want to see if there's been an update about the Zonovan Knight injury. I haven't seen one yet. Let me pull this up. I know he was questionable with an ankle injury. I do think he was expected to play. He is active. We did get that he is active. He's fine. He's going to be playing. I do think Zonovan Knight's a fringe start. I don't think he's a must start, though. He doesn't really catch passes. So I think it's McKinnon. I think it's McKinnon, especially if it's PPR league. I think I'd go McKinnon over Zonovan Knight. Yo, it's backward. Why is it backwards? I don't understand. Picks are backward. It's so strange. Wait one sec. Let's see if we can figure this out. Still backwards. This is still backwards. Let me just read through it. It's reversed for some. It's very strange. I got a new phone. Probably something weird going on with the new phone. But I do still backwards. Yeah, it's very strange. I will try to figure that out. But I'll read through it really quickly. If you guys can't read backwards, first of all, I think you got to start. I think you got to start Travis Etienne. I've been calling Garrett Wilson a must start for like 2 months now. I'm not ready to back away from that, but I do think there's more risk with Garrett Wilson tonight with the rain and the wind. If I pull up this really quickly, is it forwards now? Did that fix it? I think I might have fixed it. Let me know in the TikTok live if that fixed it. But yeah, I still think Travis Etienne's a must start. He's probably going to get 15 plus carries tonight, and the weather isn't going to impact the running backs as much as the passing game. It's not going to impact the running backs as much as the passing game. But Garrett Wilson, guys, he's seeing such elite usage, and this on paper is a really good matchup for the Jets offense. Zach Wilson is a big downgrade for Garrett Wilson, but Garrett Wilson, guys, he's had at least 13 points in 6 of his last 7 games. Two of those games went over 24 points. He has the high ceiling. He's proven he's got a good floor. He's the best receiver on the Jets in a game that is supposed to be close, only 2.5-point favorites. But this is going to be a low-scoring. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's definitely going to be a low-scoring game. Why no Ingram? Yeah, it's really the wind and the rain. Garrett Wilson's the only receiver I trust in this game, and even him I'm a little nervous about. I think you should think really, really hard about benching Christian Kirk, benching Zay Jones, benching Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. I was in on Elijah Moore last week. I'm totally out this week. And both the tight ends I'm pretty nervous about. The Jets secondary has been really strong this season too. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is cooking. I know a lot of people are gonna have Trevor Lawrence questions tonight. I'm not gonna lie, and I get the case that you got to play the hot hand. Trevor Lawrence is absolutely balling. I don't know if there's been a quarterback better. There hasn't been many quarterbacks better than him over the last month of the season. Let me read you some Trevor Lawrence numbers here. But again, you got to take into account the matchup and the weather in this game. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence has been over 20 points in 4 of his last 5 games. But guys, since week 3, there's only been one quarterback that's gone over 20 points against the Jets, and it was Josh Allen. That's it. Since week 3, only one QB over 20 points against the Jets. And then we got 35 mile an hour plus wind gusts in this game and rain. The last time Trevor Lawrence played in this type of weather, I think it was back in week 3 or 4 against the Cowboys. He fumbled 4 times and threw an interception. He had 5 turnovers. He almost had negative fantasy points. So yeah, be careful. Be careful with Trevor Lawrence. Be careful with this passing attack. Again, the weather is going to impact the game. And I talk a lot about the weather on these live streams. Weatherman Sam comes out a lot on these lives. And I really do think this is one of the games where it's going to have an impact. This is seeming like it's going to be the worst weather weekend of the NFL season. And I wasn't worried about the weather last week in the Bills-Dolphins game. The weather reports were absolutely ridiculous, spiraling on Twitter about how bad the weather was going to be. But guys, they cleared the snow that happened earlier in the day before the game. And it was barely snowing during the game. I mean, fans were throwing snowballs at players, but the weather had zero impact on that game. I don't think that's going to be the case tonight. 30+ mile an hour wind gusts. Player props for tonight. Yeah, I do like the ETN and the Zonovan Knight props. Those are my 2 favorite props of today. I think at least one of those running backs is going to play well. We know Zonovan Knight's active now too, which makes me a little bit more confident about him. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. Guys, we are so close. We're so close to 10,000 YouTube subscribers. We're so close. We could really do it on this stream, I think. Let me pull up the yeah, guys, we only need 120 more. We got more than that in the live right now. Smash the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok as well. I will talk through basically all my thoughts in this game tonight, but I just high level, you got to be worried about the weather. Zach Wilson isn't easy to trust as is. This is a good matchup. Jags defense not very scary in any facet of the game, but 30+ mile an hour winds. The last time Zach Wilson played in this type of weather, he got benched the game after. It was against the Patriots. Much better defense than the Jags. But yeah, be aware of the weather tonight, 100%. I'm playing Daniel Jones, by the way, over Trevor Lawrence. And I get it. That it feels gross inside to do that. It's a big risk to take in the fantasy playoffs. But Daniel Jones gets the Vikings, guys. The Vikings have stopped nobody. That game is in a dome. Daniel Jones is running the ball enough. Hey, Sam, hope you're having a great day. Should I start T-Law or hope for Lamar? Yeah, don't hope for Lamar. And I wouldn't play Deshaun over T-Law either. I would play Daniel Jones over T-Law, though, and he's probably available in a bunch of leagues. Hey, Sam, you got me from 1-4 to 10-4. But now it's time for the playoffs. Evan Ingram or Schultz? Dante, first of all, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's what it's all about. That's why I show up every Thursday, every Sunday morning. This is my 16th straight Thursday. I don't know if you can hear. I'm sick. I feel like Michael Jordan in the flu game right now, but I'm not missing this. We've been 15. I'm not going to miss the 16th straight Thursday night. And no, I would definitely go Schultz. 100% I'd go Schultz. When you consider the weather in this game, I feel like it has to be Schultz. But even without the weather, I think Schultz is better than Ingram. Excuse me. I think Schultz is a top 5, top 3. Yeah, he's number 4 in the WalterPicks app. I think you could make a really good case that he's top 5. Evan Ingram is ranked pretty high in the WalterPicks app as well. This week he's at number 7. I think he's a must bench with this weather, though. My man, week 1 playoffs went well. Should I start ETN or Juju? I already have Kelsey playing in that game. I like ETN tonight. I don't dislike ETN tonight. I was a little surprised, by the way. Jags are 2.5-point underdogs in this game. I don't know how. I mean, it feels like there's a better chance that the Jets struggle to move the ball than the Jags. It's weird because the Jags offense is much better than the Jets, but the Jets defense is much better than the Jags defense. But I'm okay playing ETN over Juju. I think his floor is higher and his ceiling is just as high. Travis Etienne is coming off a good game. He was really struggling the month previous to that. But guys, he had 19 carries and a negative game script last week. 19 carries in a game that they were losing almost the entire game against the Cowboys. And he did go over 100 yards. No touchdowns. Travis Etienne has not scored a touchdown since week 9. I wouldn't be shocked if that changes tonight. We have still not seen him have a game with more than 3 catches. I mean, that's still super disappointing. And really, I was just a miss on my end on why I was drafting Travis Etienne in the first place. But he is running enough that I think he does have a high enough floor. I'm okay starting him over Juju. The Chiefs play the Seattle Seahawks, who've actually been okay against receivers. They've been much worse against running backs. Obviously, it's Mahomes. Hey, Walter, I have 2 for you. Ingram versus Kittle, and because of the weather, Kirk or Pittman. Pat, classic mistake here. Man, don't worry about it. My name is Sam. Walter is the AI algorithm I helped build that powers the WalterPicks app. Guys, if you haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's completely free to download on the iOS and Android app store. It's going to help you with all your start sits, all your trades, your drafts next season, everything. And again, it's free to download. There are some subscriptions in the app to sync your league, but it's totally free to try that as well. It's got to be Kittle. It's got to be Kittle over Ingram. And because of the weather impacts both these decisions. Because Ingram and Kirk, they have to catch the ball through the air. And there's going to be 30-mile-an-hour plus wind gusts. Let me pull this up on TikTok. I don't think I can pull it up on the YouTube. But guys, look at this. Look at this weather report. Oh, God, my new phone is causing all sorts of problems. You can't see this, but it was 14-mile-an-hour winds. It's a 32-mile-an-hour wind gust is what that's saying. 32-mile-an-hour wind gust plus rain. I'm nervous. I'm nervous for it. I'm nervous for the weather. What's a fringe start? It's not a must start, but it's not a must bench. It's in between. That's what a fringe start. Like you're on the fringe. You're on the edge of a start. I don't think they're like must starts or must benches. So they're the hardest choices tonight is sort of what I'm saying. And the fringe starts tonight, in my mind, Zonovan Knight, I think he can definitely be considered in a lot of spots. He's had at least 13 carries, 4 straight games, at least 45% of the snaps, 4 straight games. He looks like the primary runner for the Jets. I'm a little concerned about the ankle injury, but he's active. So I think you got to trust that his ankle's okay. He did leave the game last week, and I don't think he went back in. The only other concern with Zonovan Knight is Michael Carter's the primary pass catcher. He's the one getting more targets. He's running significantly more routes. So if you're in a PPR league, I think Bam Knight takes a little bit of a hit there. But this Jags run defense isn't very scary. So I do think Zonovan Knight can be started if you need a running back. Trevor Lawrence, he's been cooking. He's gone over 20 points in 4 of his last 5 games. But the Jets haven't allowed any quarterbacks to go over 20 points other than Josh Allen since week 3. So it's a tough matchup, plus the weather. I think I'm leaning towards Trevor Lawrence being closer to must bench than must start. I'd be really careful with Trevor Lawrence. I really do prefer Daniel Jones over Trevor Lawrence this week. Daniel Jones gets the Vikings in a dome. And the Vikings have been just torched defensively. I mean, they have the worst secondary, one of the worst secondaries in the league. Bottom 3 secondary for sure. And then Kirk or Pittman. Yeah, I'm playing Pittman over Kirk too. Again, the weather has to factor into it tonight. 34 plus mile an hour wind gust is what I was reading. Sam, what's up, man? Need help for semis. Adam, man, great to see that you are in the semis. Pick 5. This is maybe a bench 2. Let's count how many players we got. 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, we got a bench 2. It's a little easier for me to wrap my head around. Dalvin Cook, Tony Pollard, Joe Mixon, DK, Keenan Allen, AJ Brown, Kenneth Walker. Yeah, so you absolutely cannot be benching DK Metcalf this week. It sounds like Tyler Lockett's going to miss, and the Chiefs have allowed the most receiving touchdowns in the league. DK has way too high of a ceiling. I think he's a top 7 wide receiver this week. None of these guys are easy to bench, though. I think I'd probably bench Pollard and Kenneth. If it's a PPR league, I'm okay benching Pollard and Kenneth. I don't love benching Pollard, though. He's been really good. But, yeah, I think Keenan and AJ Brown are kind of must-starts as well if it's a PPR league. Definitely all good starts here, though, Adam. It's not like, hey, you're going to go wrong, I don't think, in that spot. Hey, Sam, I got 2 questions. PPR, Swift or Bam Knight? And DJ Moore, Kirk, or Wilson? Yeah, so DeAndre Swift is really tough to trust at this point in time. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now, by the way. If you're watching live on TikTok, it's a little easier for me to pull up comments on the YouTube live. Come to the YouTube live. It's right in the link is right in the TikTok bio. We're also really close to 10,000 YouTube subscribers, which is really exciting. Someone's asking, what's a fringe start? A fringe start is it's in between a must start and a must bench. It's like they're on the cusp. Like you can talk yourself into starting them, but be careful. Be careful. I think with those guys in the middle, I don't think they are locks tonight by any means. I'm playing Goddard over Evan Ingram. I'm playing Njoku over Evan Ingram. A Pats defense. I like the Pats defense this week they're playing the Bengals though. I don't know actually with the Pats against the Bengals. I was at that last Pats game, by the way. I don't know if you saw my last video, but God, the Pats are so brutal. What was I? I was just looking something up. I lost my train of thought here. Let me pull up. Oh yeah, I was looking at Swift. I do want to talk through Swift. Swift has been, such a headache in fantasy football this season. One of these guys that's mega talented, not seeing enough playing time for fantasy purposes. He did play 40% of the snaps last week, which was a bump up from the previous week, still down from a couple weeks ago where he was finally up to over 50%. He's only played over 50% of the snaps once since week 8. He had 8 carries. He did have 9 targets last week, though. That's pretty strong. He did play this Jets defense. And this week, the Lions, they're up against the Carolina Panthers. And it could be a pretty good spot for DeAndre Swift. if this is it's PPR too. If PPR is enough, 9 targets last week for Swift, it's enough for me to say Swift over Bam Knight. It certainly is close. And if it was a non-PPR league, I think I would really confidently say Bam Knight. But Bam Knight doesn't catch passes. He might catch 1 or 2, but Michael Carter's going to run more routes. He's going to get more targets than Bam Knight. He's the preferred pass down back in this offense. DJ Moore, Kirk, or Wilson. Yes, so I think it's Garrett Wilson. I do. I would probably say Garrett Wilson, then DJ Moore, then Kirk. I can see an argument, honestly, for Kirk first here, too. I think all 3 of these guys are close. I'm most confident in the floor-ceiling combo, though, for Garrett Wilson. And I know the quarterback situation is worse for him. I don't hate going DJ Moore just to avoid the weather in this game altogether, though. I think that should be considered. Again, you got to factor in the weather tonight. And I'm not one of these people that overreacts to the weather. I'm actually almost always telling you don't overreact. The weather's fine. Like in the Bills game last week, the weather was fine. They cleared the snow before the game. I don't care if it snows 3 feet hours before the game if it's not going to snow much during the game and there's no wind. The wind is the most important thing. I've done research on this. It makes sense. It's hard to throw the ball in the wind. And when you can't throw the ball, offenses get very one-dimensional, much easier to stop. So this is why this game has, I think, the lowest over-under of the week. Let me pull up the over-under here. I think it was like 35 or 37, something ridiculously low. There's almost no way. And there's a lot of cold games this week. The cold does not matter nearly as much as the wind. Like, players can play through the cold. It does matter a little bit in the extreme cold, like we're going to see in some of these games. Guys, the over-under this game, 36.5. There's only a few games with worse over-unders this week. The Ravens, the Falcons, that's going to be an ugly run fest. The Saints and the Browns, they're playing in mega cold as well. Two kind of brutal offenses there. But this is an extremely low over-under. It's why I think a lot of these guys are not must-starts tonight. Travis Etienne, start him. Garrett Wilson, I'm starting him. I've been on him. I've been starting him in any league I have him for the last month and a half. I'm not fading an elite talent like Garrett Wilson. And I think you can make a similar case for Christian Kirk, who has a better quarterback. I know Zay Jones popped off last week. Shout out Zay Jones. Zay Jones literally could win me $1 million. I still have some best ball teams alive. I got to make a video about that sometime very soon. But Zay Jones is on all my best ball teams that have advanced this far. But guys, Christian Kirk still had 10 targets last week. Christian Kirk still had at least 7 targets in every single game since week 6. Christian Kirk is the number 1 receiver in this offense. It's not Zay Jones. Zay Jones could pop off again. Don't get me wrong. But I would prefer Christian Kirk over Zay Jones. And I think if there's another receiver in this game that you might be able to trust, it's Christian Kirk. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. We're so close to 10,000 YouTube subscribers. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm sick as a dog, man. I don't know what I got. I'm sick. For sure sick. But I'm not missing my 16th straight Thursday night live stream in the fantasy football semifinals. I don't care if it's an ugly game between the Jaguars and the Jets. By the way, I'm pretty surprised that the Jags are 2.5-point underdogs in this game. I would take the Jags straight up. I would take the Jags against the spread. I know the Jets defense is good. I also know that the Jags, the last time they played in weather like tonight, it didn't go so well. Trevor Lawrence fumbled 4 times, and he threw an interception too. That was back in week 3 or week 4 against the Cowboys. Maybe that's being factored into this spread a little bit. I don't think he's going to fumble 4 times again. I saw some chatter. He might wear a glove tonight. Don't know how I feel about that. Jones or Gabe Davis. Yeah, so I'm assuming you mean Zay Jones here because it's Thursday night. We got Zay Jones playing. There's a lot of Joneses, though, so I do appreciate first and last names. Half PPR. This one's tight, man. Let me see who the Bills are playing this week again. I'm nervous for Zay Jones. I feel better about Christian Kirk. I know Zay Jones coming off a monster game. He's had a few of them. He's actually been low-key consistent this season. The Bills, they get the Bears. I'm okay going Zay Jones over Gabe Davis. I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that one. Again, I think Zay Jones is more of a fringe start, though, not a must start. Not a must start. I would play Zonovan Knight over Drake London, easy. I would play Zonovan Knight over Darius Slayton, I think, as well. That one's a little closer. Buenos noches, Sam. Buenos noches, Ethan. I got T-Law starting right now, but I could start Huntley, Minshew, Pickett, or Purdy. What would you do? Yeah, so I'm starting T-Law over all these guys. I got no faith. I'd be most intrigued by Minshew mania. I could see it. It's good offense, good receivers, but I could also see the Eagles being extremely run heavy in their game this week. I would play Daniel Jones over Trevor Lawrence. That's the one I feel really good about because Daniel Jones is playing in a dome against the Vikings. He's got a plus matchup. He's one of the few guys safe from the weather this week. And again, I said it before, Trevor Lawrence, we're really seeing a bunch of different headwinds come into this game, a pun intended there. We got Trevor Lawrence, who's been on fire. Very few quarterbacks have been better than Trevor Lawrence over the last month. He's gotten over 20 fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. He's been a legit league winner over the last month, especially last week. But now he faces the Jets defense. That's very good. The Jets defense hasn't allowed any quarterbacks to go over 20 points other than Josh Allen since week 3. And then you add on top of that the weather in the game, 30-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts with heavy rain. I think you got to be really careful with Trevor Lawrence. But I'm starting him over all those guys. Purdy, I'm starting him over. I think I'd start him over Minshew. I'd start him over Tyler Huntley. I think there's one other guy. Should I start Garrett Wilson? Yeah, I do. Karina, I do think you should start Garrett Wilson. There's 2 sides to every start sit, though, Karina. There's 2 sides. What's up, Sam? Hope all is well and hope you are ready for Christmas. Do you like Zach Wilson over under 15.5 pass completions, or should I go T-Law over under 19.5 completions? Do you like Kirk over 4 receptions? Yeah, so I don't hate the Kirk over 4 receptions, but in general, I would take the under on these completion numbers because of the weather. I do think because of the weather, I would go under on both the completion numbers there. I feel better about the Zach Wilson one, though. Hey, Sam, hope you feel better. Sorry, it's not Thursday Night Football question, but should I pick up Marquise Goodwin? Yeah, but Goodwin is in play on Seahawks, right? Because Tyler Lockett's going to be out. I think Goodwin, let me pull up the numbers here for Goodwin, but it's a good matchup against the Chiefs for these receivers. That's why I have DK Metcalf as a pretty clear top 10 receiver. Yeah, Goodwin played 60% of the snaps last week, 30 routes. He only had 2 catches for 10 yards, but he's got insane speed, 100th percentile speed for Marquise Goodwin against the Chiefs. I'm cool with it. I think he's worth an ad if you have someone you can drop easily. Sam, Mondre or ETN, full PPR. It's got to be Mondre. I think it's got to be Mondre over ETN. I think it's close, but ETN is not even in a comparable, not even close to a comparable receiving role. Travis Etienne has 0 games over 3 catches this season. I mean, mind-boggling. I never would have predicted that at the beginning of the season. I thought he was going to be an elite pass catcher. He had many games over 3 catches when he played with Trevor Lawrence in college. Has not been the case in the NFL for him so far. Mondre, on the other hand, I mean, he's going over 5 catches, more games than not. So I do think you got to be playing Mondre. Sam, my guy, Sean, how we doing, man? Hope you enjoy the holidays. Thanks for tuning in. Always great to see you in there. Hey, Sam, Semis, I need you here. Zach Wilson or Gardner Minshew? Don't start Zach Wilson. Brody, don't start Zach Wilson in this game. Did you just see the over-under that someone else was asking about? 15.5 completions. That's the over-under for Zach Wilson, and I'd take the under in this game. There's 30-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts. It's not a bad matchup. Like the Jags secondary is not very intimidating. Their run defense, the defense overall, I don't think is very scary. But Zach Wilson is bad, and there's horrible, horrible weather in this game. It's going to be windy and heavy rain. And I care way more about the wind, by the way. I don't really care about the rain, but the rain compounds with the wind a little bit. It does make it worse. It's wet and windy. Not only is it going to be hard to throw the ball, more than 10 yards down the field accurately, but also it's going to be wet when the receivers are trying to catch the ball. So yeah, that's why I take the under in completions, and absolutely not. You cannot start. There's no starting Zach Wilson tonight. You cannot do it. You cannot do it. I'm playing. Oh God. We got Trace McSorley, right? Trace McSorley starting for the Cardinals. I think that's what I'm expecting. That's what I'm seeing. You can't start DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think. Let me pull up the numbers for McSorley. I know he didn't play the whole game. I hope we can bring that sound back on TikTok. I mean, shout out Trace McSorley. But yeah, 46% completion percentage. He only threw the ball 15 times. Like, he might not throw the ball more than 20 times. He's similar to a lot of these backups that come in, like they just don't trust Trace McSorley to throw. It's going to be the same thing with Malik Willis. We've already seen that. Malik Willis is going to be starting this week. He's not going to throw. He's playing the Texans, though. We're going to see a lot of Derrick Henry this week. I mean, I feel like I've been talking about this Derrick Henry versus Texans matchup since the season started. What's up, Sam? Bam or Latavius Murray? Yeah, so Latavius Murray, man, popped off. I mean, absolutely popped off last week. To my surprise, for sure. I did not think he had that type of game in him. Latavius Murray last week, 24 carries, 142 total yards, plus a TD. He was the number 10 running back on the week. But this week, the Denver Broncos, they go against the Rams. The Rams have been top 10 against running backs this season. I'd go Bam. I think I'd go Bam over Latavius, but it's definitely close. Lions defense or Chargers defense. Yeah, let me pull up those matchups here really quickly. The Lions, they're up against the Panthers. Probably the Lions. Yeah, it's the Lions. The Chargers, they're up against the Colts. That's not terrible either. But I think it's the Lions. I think I like the Lions defense a little bit more than the Chargers defense. I'm playing Njoku over Evan Ingram. I'd be very careful with Evan Ingram. I'd play Goddard over Evan Ingram too. To feel better about. Thank you. A little helpful PPR pick one: Evan Ingram, David Njoku, Juwan Johnson, or Taysom Hill. Yeah, I think it's Njoku. I know Juwan Johnson's been really great too, and Olave is out. I do think that's a little interesting for both Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill. It's really tough to project where those Chris Olave targets are going to go. I would assume it's going to be a mix of Alvin Kamara, Juwan Johnson, Taysom Hill, mixing in for those touches Chris Olave has been getting. But none of those guys really run the type of routes Olave runs. I don't know if the Saints really have a player that can fill the full Olave role on their own. But Olave being out definitely makes Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill a little bit more intriguing. And I believe, right, they're up against the Browns. I do like Taysom against the Browns. Their run defense has been really bad. Really bad. But I think the answer here is Njoku against the Saints. Sam, the man himself, happy PR, Kirk, Burks, Elijah Moore, or Judy. You absolutely cannot be starting Elijah Moore tonight. There's no way I could talk myself into starting Elijah Moore tonight. And I'm kind of an Elijah Moore stan. I was telling people to start him last week. Got a lot of pushback on that one. He did okay. Not great, but he is playing more now. But he's in a game tonight with an extremely low over-under, 30-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts, and heavy rain. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Elijah Moore lead this team in targets, though. He is playing almost all of his snaps from the slot. He's pretty much been primarily in the slot since the Jets bye week, and that has been good for him. But yeah, I have no faith in Zach Wilson tonight. I only receiver I'm really trusting tonight is Garrett Wilson, and I think you can have a little bit of faith in Christian Kirk too. All the other guys I'm pretty nervous about. I'd be playing Mike Evans over Zay Jones. Godwin or Hopkins? Oh, God. It's got to be Godwin. Has to be Godwin. With Trace McSorley starting, you can't trust. You can't trust Trace McSorley passing the ball. What's up, Sam? Merry Christmas, bro. Merry Christmas, Joseph. Start 2, standard scoring. ETN, Walker, Stevenson. Dylan. AJ Dillon starting to heat up down the stretch. I think literally I posted a video about some of my biggest misses this season on TikTok. And since then, AJ Dillon's just been popping off. And you absolutely love to see it. Huge AJ Dillon fan. One of my favorite players, if not my favorite player in the NFL. He's been over 17 points in 3 straight games. He's had 4 touchdowns now in his last 3 games. But the only reason you'd ever start Dillon here, Joseph, is if Aaron Jones is out. I actually do think he's technically questionable with a few different injuries, but I think he's going to play. So I wouldn't start AJ Dillon here. I think I'd probably go Kenneth and Stevenson over ETN. And again, I like Stevenson a decent amount more than ETN. ETN doesn't catch enough passes. He profiles as a good receiver. He was a good receiver in college, but he doesn't have a single game in his rookie season up to this point with more than 3 catches. Not his rookie season, really his second season, technically. Hey, Sam, who should I start? Boyd, Myers, Chark, or Palmer? Yeah, I kind of feel like it's Myers. He's questionable too, but I think I would go Myers. Sam, happy holidays, man. Kenneth Walker, McKinnon, Knight, or Dobbins start 2. Yeah, I think it's the first 2. Honestly, I'd like McKinnon more than Bam Knight. And I know McKinnon's we can't expect last week out of McKinnon every week. But he does have a really good matchup this week against the Seahawks. They've been bottom 5 against running backs all season. And I have faith that the Seahawks could keep this game kind of close. I'm absolutely ridiculous, guys. Jerick McKinnon's been the number 1 running back each of the last 2 weeks. Over 32 points in back-to-back weeks, man. Ride the hot hand with McKinnon. He's clearly earned to maintain his role. And he's played over 55% of the snaps in back-to-back weeks. He set a season-high 60% snap share. Actually, it was the second most of the season. I know Pacheco fumbled in that game, which led to a little bit more playing time maybe for McKinnon. I know Ronald Jones mixed in a tiny bit too. And then he was playing the Texans, but it's a good matchup. Yeah, I think I would go Kenneth and McKinnon playing each other in that one. I definitely don't hate that. Zonovan Knight or Rachaad White. Yeah, so I got another Rachaad White. Someone texted me earlier about Rachaad White versus Zay Jones. Rachaad White versus Christian Kirk. A lot of people considering Rachaad White, and it makes sense. And if this is a PPR league, I think it's got to be Rachaad White. If it's a PPR league, let me pull up the splits for Rachaad White last week. I don't hate Donovan Knight in this game. I do think he's a fringe start. Zach Moss or Rachaad White. Oh God, I know Zach Moss is in play. He's definitely in play. He did kind of look good for the Colts, but I think I would go Rachaad White there too. And yeah, Rachaad White's coming off his worst game since week 9. He's still at 11 carries. He was still out there for 40% of the snaps, but only 2 targets, only 1 catch, 43 scoreless yards. it does kind of look like Fournette has taken back over this backfield a little bit. It does. Fournette up to, yeah, it does. It really does. He had more targets again this past week, and I feel like Fournette's a little bit more likely to score the touchdowns in that offense too. I'm okay going Zonovan Knight. Looking into those numbers, I'm okay going Zonovan Knight over Rachaad White, especially if it's not a PPR league. Again, Zonovan Knight doesn't really catch passes. What's goody, Sam? What's goody, Alexander? Sam, Zay Jones, Tyler Algier. Is Algier 100%? And I know Zay Jones was the number one receiver last week. You absolutely love to. My best ball teams absolutely love to see it. I had a lot of last round Zay Jones teams that are still alive now, and he had 35 points, man. He scored 3 touchdowns. But tonight is a lot different. It's a lot different than this past game for the Jaguars. And the real reason is the weather. That's the real reason. I mean, there's 2 reasons. Also, the Jets defense is good. The secondary, guys, is really good. Like, this Jets defense is legit. I think that they've been getting the attention they deserve. Obviously, Sauce Gardner has been getting a lot of hype this season, and I think he deserves it for the most part. But the Jets secondary is really not one you want to be targeting. They've allowed the second fewest points per game to receivers this entire season. They haven't allowed a receiver over 100 yards since week 4. It was actually George Pickens that did it. Amon-Ra St. Brown last week, he had 15 points. Not terrible. Justin Jefferson had 18 points. They haven't allowed a guy to go over 20 points since week 8. Really, there has only been one receiver to go over 20 points against the Jets defense since week 3. Only one receiver to go over 20 points against the Jets defense since week 3. Guys, only one QB has gone over 20 points against the Jets since week 3, and that's only Josh Allen. He's done it twice, but that's it. That's it. And then you add in the fact that there's 30-mile-an-hour plus wind gusts in this game in heavy rain. I mean, be very careful with the passing attacks in this game. I still think you start Garrett Wilson. I still think he has a high floor, high ceiling, just in general with how good he is. But if there's a week to bench him, it's probably this week. And that's the case really with all these receivers and both the quarterbacks. You're not starting Zach Wilson. Do not start Zach Wilson. I would probably choose basically every other quarterback over Zach Wilson this week. His over-under is 15.5 completions. The last time that he played in a game like this, he was benched the following week. That was against the Pats. So yeah, I don't have faith. I don't have faith in Zach Wilson tonight. I have confidence in Garrett Wilson being an elite stud in the NFL, which is why I still think he's a must start in a lot of spots. But honestly, he's probably closer to fringe start than must start. Ingram or Goddard, I bench Ingram. But yeah, must bench Ingram. I think. Again, I just read you the numbers. But the Jets defense, they've been very elite in the secondary. They've been a little bit worse against tight ends. Brock Wright did get 51 yards, but he only had 1 catch last week. Dawson Knox, they have allowed a touchdown to tight ends in back-to-back weeks, but they've only allowed 2 touchdowns to tight ends this entire season. Not a single tight end's gone over 20 points. The vast majority of them have been under 10 points. And again, look at the weather in the game and tell me you feel confident about Evan Ingram in this game. And I'll be rooting for Evan Ingram for sure. Excuse me. He is definitely on a decent amount of my best ball teams as well. I drafted a lot of Trevor Lawrence, a lot of Jaguar stacks. So I'm really upset about the weather in this game. Evan Ingram has been really good in the last 3 weeks. He's been a top 6 tight end 3 straight weeks. He's gone over 14 points 3 straight weeks. He has 25 targets in his last 2 games, and I really feel like he's still a must bench. The floor is so low for Evan Ingram with 30-plus mile-an-hour winds in heavy rain. Bam or Deontay Johnson. Let me pull up who the Steelers are up against this week. I believe it is the Raiders. If it's PPR, I'm going Deontay Johnson over Bam Knight. If it's not a PPR league, I think it's much closer. Bam or I would go Deontay, though. A T-Law Danny Dimes. Yes, so this is Kraken 127 in the TikTok Live. Glad you asked this one. Because I'm starting Daniel Jones over Trevor Lawrence. I thought this one through before the live, and I knew I was going to get some Trevor Lawrence questions, and I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a must start. I'm starting Trevor Lawrence in a lot of spots still because he's been so hot. I mean, he's been on fire. He's gone over 20 points in 4 of his last 5. But I like Daniel Jones more this week. He gets the Vikings in a dome, and Trevor Lawrence gets an elite Jet secondary in 30-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain. Seems almost too obvious when you put it that way. Hey, Sam, ETN or McKinnon, full PPR. Oh, God. Yeah, these McKinnon decisions are tough, man, because he's been so good. And especially if you've had him on the bench the last couple of weeks. Number 1 running back each of the last 2 weeks. Really good matchup against the Seahawks. Honestly, I'm okay going McKinnon. I'm fine with it. He has a better receiving upside there too. Opinion on Mixon bouncing back this week. Also over under 2 sacks tonight for both the Jets and the Jags. If that's actually the over underline, I assume that's for each team individually, because if it's combined, I mean, that seems too easy. I would take the over though for sure. With this weather, you got to assume these offenses are coming in with a plan to get the ball out quick and it probably not too many deep looks, but it really does make the deep a lot easier to defend when you know that teams can't throw it deep because there's 30-mile-an-hour winds and rain. But yeah, Joe Mixon bouncing back this week wouldn't shock me at all. The Pats have kind of struggled a little bit at times. They did hold Josh Jacobs pretty well last week, though. Let me pull up the Josh Jacobs numbers from last week. I think he got a lot of touches again. But yeah, he 22 carries, three targets. He did have 110 yards, but 0 touchdowns. Wasn't a super efficient day for Josh Jacobs. But I could see a similar day for Joe Mixon. But the thing with Joe Mixon is just Samaje Perine has clearly earned a larger role in that offense with how good he played in Joe Mixon's absence. And the Bengals are gearing up for a playoff push. It does make sense for them to let Samaje Perine play a little bit more, keep Joe Mixon fresh. Samaje Perine's played over a third of the snaps in the 2 games that Joe Mixon's been back. Really does eat a lot from Mixon. He stole one of those touchdowns at the goal line from him too. I could see Mixon bouncing back, but Perine does have me a little bit concerned. Excuse me. We are battling through flu-like symptoms today, but we're not missing our 16th straight live stream. By the way, if you're watching live on YouTube, guys, smash the subscribe button. I mean, we are so close. We've never been so close. We've never been this close. Guys, we are 90 YouTube subscribers away from 10,000 YouTube subscribers. You're watching live on TikTok right now. The best way to get your comment answered, and I will answer as many comments as I can on all of these lives. I'm actually going to be live tomorrow too, not Saturday. I'm actually traveling Saturday. So I'm going to go live tomorrow, talk through the whole slate of games tomorrow. Probably around like 4 or 5 p.m. time. It's going to be a little bit different of a stream, but I'm going to break down the entire slate. You can watch that Saturday morning too if you want. It'll be up on YouTube. And I'll be on TikTok as well. But guys, we are so close. We're so close. If you're on TikTok, come over to the YouTube live, right in the TikTok bio. Smash the subscribe button. I'm going to get to as many comments as I can, both in YouTube and TikTok. But guys, we're so close to a huge milestone on YouTube. I really will. Really, I'm going to be so happy when we hit that one. It's been three straight years of grinding on YouTube. McKinnon or Dalvin? It's got to be Dalvin. I feel like you still got to start Dalvin over McKinnon. I get it. I get the want. He's been the number 1 running back each of the last 2 weeks. The Vikings get the Giants this week, guys, and they have not been good against running backs. They haven't. Dalvin Cook, I think, absolutely is the play over McKinnon. McKinnon or Moore, Brody Woods, man, there's a lot of Moores. There's Rondale Moore, DJ Moore, Elijah Moore. There's Sky Moore. There's one more. I'm missing. There's a lot of Moores. I'm assuming you mean DJ Moore, but you could easily mean Elijah Moore here. Either way, the answer here is McKinnon. I play McKinnon. Knight or Peoples-Jones? Yeah, Peoples-Jones has been quietly having a season, man. He's caught almost everything thrown his way this year. I think he's one of the best reception percentages in the league. He did score a touchdown last week. He's now been over 13 points in every single game but one since week 10. That's 5 of his last 6 games, for those of you doing the math there. He doesn't have a game over 20 points, though, this whole season. So, what's the real ceiling there with Donovan Peoples-Jones? You could say a similar thing, though, with Donovan Knight, because he doesn't catch passes. This is going to be a low-scoring game. But the Jags' defense isn't so scary. Honestly, I think I'd probably go Donovan Knight. I believe that Browns-Saints game. Yeah, so the Browns-Saints, guys, there's a lot of weather to be aware of. I'm going to break it all down on the live stream tomorrow. I do want to focus on the Thursday night game for the most part on the stream. But 27-mile-an-hour sustained winds in this Saints-Browns game. I mean, no thank you to those passing offenses. I'm scared for that, for sure. I'm very nervous for Dunn. I would not play. I would play Knight over Peoples-Jones. And yeah, this is a Thursday night question, so I'm fine addressing the wind in the Browns game. But yeah, be very cautious with the Browns passing attack. That's why I would definitely play Trevor Lawrence over Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's playing in even worse weather than Trevor Lawrence tonight. I know I have 30+ mile-an-hour winds up on the YouTube live along with heavy rain, but this is 30-mile-an-hour plus wind gusts. It's going to be close to 15-mile-an-hour sustained winds. 15-mile-an-hour sustained wind, that's bad, but it's not impossible to throw in 15-mile-an-hour winds. When the wind gusts up to 30, though, you can't throw the ball deep at all. Again, I've done research on this. The 25 mile an hour is the threshold that you should really be cautious of. And there's sustained winds at 26 miles an hour projected in that Browns Saints game. I mean, brutal. Going back actually to a previous question, that makes me even more bullish on Taysom Hill over Juwan Johnson this week. With Chris Olave out, Mark Ingram out, they're playing one of the worst run defenses in the league with the Cleveland Browns, and there's 26 mile an hour winds. They can't throw the ball. It's going to be an Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill offense. I don't hate Taysom Hill at all this week. I think you could start him over Evan Ingram and both tight ends in this game. I don't know why I'm blanking on the Jets tight end, Conklin. You can start him over Conklin and Ingram. I'd play Taysom over both those guys. Kirk or Zay Jones. I think you got to go Kirk over Zay Jones. I know it feels weird. I get it. It feels weird, but I'd go Kirk over Zay Jones. I think Kirk is still the number one guy in this offense. But in general, I'm nervous for both guys. D-Hop or Kirk, I'm going Kirk. Start Jags defense? Yes. Start the Jags defense. The over-under for for Zach Wilson completions is only 15.5. And guys, he's probably going to go under. He might complete less than 15 passes in this game with 30 mile an hour winds and heavy rain. Garrett Wilson or CeeDee Lamb? Got to be CeeDee Lamb. We're not starting Garrett Wilson over CeeDee Lamb. Why are you sitting Evan Ingram? I'm sitting Evan Ingram because of the weather in this game and the matchup in this game. That's why I think Evan Ingram is a must bench. I think his floor is way too low. I think he could go under 3 points in this game, and I just wouldn't be that surprised. I know he's been balling, guys. He's been a top 6 tight end in 3 straight weeks. Very few tight ends have had a stretch like that this season. But before that, the 3 weeks before this stretch, he was outside the top 25 tight ends all 3 weeks, under 4.5 points all 3 weeks. So let's not pretend like he's going to be the super consistent tight end in a game that has 30+ mile an hour wind gusts in heavy rain against an elite secondary. That's why I'm out on Evan Ingram in this game. Start Garrett Wilson in bad weather. Start Garrett Wilson in bad weather, or pick up Chark, Latavius Murray, or DJ Moore. Yes, I'm going Garrett Wilson in bad weather over those guys. That's just my take, but I could see the take against that. I'm going Njoku over Evan Ingram. Actually, I'm going to take that one back, actually, after looking through the weather in the Browns game. The weather in the Browns game is actually worse than the weather tonight. So I'd play Ingram over Njoku. I'm taking that one back. I think I told a few other people that too. I think that was a mistake. Bad take. I have the weather up in front of me. Weatherman Sam is going to be very active on these streams this week because this is the worst weather week of the season. It really is. And you got to be aware of the games that matter and do not matter. And a lot of people don't understand what weather actually matters. And it's really the wind. It's the wind that you have to be very nervous about. It's so hard to throw in the wind. And the Browns-Saints game sustained winds over 25 miles an hour that whole game. To tonight, there's going to be sustained wind around 15, 16 miles an hour, but wind gust over 30 miles an hour and heavy rain. Etienne, Kamara, or Godwin, choose one. Yeah, so this is a PPR league. I'm okay going Godwin. If it's a PPR league. If it's not a PPR league, oh God, Kamara's been so tough to trust this season, especially since his one big game. I'm trying to pull up the projections here really quickly. And yeah, it's got to be Etienne. I'd play Etienne over Kamara. I would. It feels weird. But again, if it's PPR, I'm going Godwin. Deion Jackson or Zach Moss. I'd go Zach Moss. Not a Thursday night question, but I'd go Zach Moss. Evan Ingram or Juwan Johnson. It's Evan Ingram. Because Juwan Johnson, same thing with Njoku. I'd play Evan Ingram over Njoku, even though I have Evan Ingram as a must bench. But I'm nervous about all these tight ends, guys. Bad weather in all these games. But even worse in the Saints game. And I know Juwan Johnson's been kind of balling, but I don't trust him. Sam Deontay or Raheem. Full PPR. Yeah, so if Jeff Wilson's out, Raheem Mostert's really an interesting play. If full PPR, though, I think it makes it much, much tougher, a lot closer for sure. Let me pull up this Steelers game, too, make sure there's not any ridiculous weather in that game either. And I'm pretty sure there's not. Yeah, there's not. It's the Raiders-Steelers. It's going to be cold. There's going to be a little bit of wind. I don't think it's going to be as bad as this game. Good matchup for Deontay against the Raiders. Deontay somehow still hasn't scored a touchdown. I wouldn't be shocked if that changes this week. But Raheem Mostert, let me pull up Raheem Mostert numbers here. He's up against the Packers, who have been pretty weak run defense this season. He had 17 carries last week only one catch, 156 yards, and 16 points against the Bills. Yeah, if Jeff Wilson sits, I'm going Raheem Mostert here over Deontay. So you got to wait on that news. Though, Knight or Kamara, oh gosh, I mean, this is where we're at with Alvin Kamara, right? And I understand. I understand it. And we actually do have Zonovan Knight ranked one spot ahead of Alvin Kamara in the WalterPicks app, and I'm cool with it. I'm okay with it. I think I would go Zonovan Knight. I play Zonovan Knight over Cam Akers as well. Should I start Juju or Garrett Wilson? I do like Garrett Wilson a little bit more, Ryan. I like him a little bit more. I bet the WalterPicks app probably disagrees with me. And again, if I don't get your start sit, best place to go is the WalterPicks app, the iOS and Android app store. It's honestly going to be even better than the advice I give you on the stream because it takes into account your custom league settings. It takes into account so much information to give us the best possible projections for fantasy. And yeah, Garrett Wilson. Here's some receivers I would start over Garrett Wilson. Let's just do that. Here's some receivers I would start over Garrett Wilson. I would not start Christian Kirk over him. I would start T. Higgins over him. I'd start Mike Evans over him. DJ Moore, I would start over him. Mike Williams, I'd start over him. AJ Brown, Michael Pittman, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin, DK Metcalf. Like, these are the guys I'm starting over Garrett Wilson. But this is kind of the tier that Garrett Wilson's in. I'm not starting Deontay over him. I'm not starting Juju over Garrett Wilson. Terry McLaurin, I think you could start over Garrett Wilson. But tough matchup for him against the 49ers this week. So I think there's a strong case for Garrett Wilson there too. The thing about the Jets passing attack tonight and why this game I think is really interesting is both teams, like their strengths and weaknesses don't match up, right? The Jaguars offense has been cooking. They're significantly better than the Jets offense. But the Jets defense has also been cooking, and it's significantly better than the Jags defense. And I think that's why the Jets are 2.5 point home favorites in this game. In a bad weather game, it does kind of limit the strength of the offense and boost the strength of having a good defense. But it also could really, really make the Jets offense look even worse. So I definitely wouldn't be shocked by that either. Should I parlay either Wilson or T-Law prop with Kirk reception? I generally would say parlay as little as possible. Or should I pair it with ETN or Knight prop prize picks? Yeah, I like the ETN prop the best tonight. It's my personal favorite prop. Hey, Sam, premium sub here. Mike Evans or DJ Moore and any QB stream options, or should I stick with Watson? Sam, first of all, thank you so much for doing the premium subscription to the WalterPicks app, man. Seriously, I can't even express how much that means to me. It's such a it's the best way you could possibly support me and the entire brand. Like, honestly, it's the reason I get to do these streams. 16 straight Thursday night lives. I'll be on 16 straight main slate live, Sunday morning lives this weekend as well. I appreciate you, Sam, seriously. And yeah, there's a QB I would stream over Deshaun Watson, and it's Daniel Jones. Deshaun Watson can't be trusted this week, similar to why it's really tough to trust Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence tonight. It's the weather. There's going to be over 25 mile an hour sustained winds in that game. Tonight we got 15 mile an hour sustained winds, but wind gusts over 30 miles an hour. But in that Browns Saints game, we got sustained wind over 25 miles an hour. That's not good for Deshaun, who also hasn't looked that great. So yeah, I would definitely play Daniel Jones over Deshaun. I'd play Daniel Jones over Trevor Lawrence too. Feels weird coming out of my mouth. Here we are in the semifinals of fantasy football, and I'm starting Daniel Jones. But he gets the Vikings in a dome. I mean, he gets a top 3 matchup in a dome. Ingram or Everett. Yeah, I'm going Everett over Evan Ingram. Christian Watson, Kirk or Pittman. And Daniel Jones, Purdy or Minshew. I'm playing Jones over Purdy and Minshew pretty easily. I guess you could make a case for Purdy. And there's a case out there for Minshew too. They're playing the Cowboys in a game that has absolutely no weather to be worried about. He obviously has good weapons. I fear a little bit that the Eagles could skew a little bit more run heavy in that game unless the Cowboys offense can keep up. I like Daniel Jones the most though. In the 49ers, they're playing a good match against the Commanders, but I really think Daniel Jones in the dome against a bottom 3 secondary is the move. And then Knight, Singletary, P. Ryan, B-Rob. Yeah, I like Knight the most. I think I like Knight the most out of all these guys. You absolutely cannot start P. Ryan. Let me pull up the B-Rob stuff. I think that Antonio Gibson did a little better last week. I could be wrong. Let me pull this up. Yeah, we had 12 carries, only 1 catch. I did have 107 yards last week. Brian Robinson, which is absolutely not terrible. And he gets a matchup against the 49ers, though. I don't think you can start him against the 49ers. I don't. They're going to be losing that game. He's not catching. He's not the pass catching back. Hey, Sam, do I start Cole Kmet or Evan Ingram? And I need to start two from Najee, T. Higgins, Ayuk, and Swift. Yeah, bench those last two guys. Bench Ayuk, bench Swift. Start Najee, start T. Higgins. That's easy. Cole Kmet for Evan Ingram's not as easy. And I do think Cole Kmet has some opportunity this week. The Bears are without all of their receivers. There's no Darnell Mooney. He's been out for a little while. But we also have no Equanimeous St. Brown in this game and no Chase Claypool. Their top receiver legitimately might be N'Keal Harry in this game. And that leaves Cole Kmet in an interesting spot this week in what could be kind of a high-scoring game between the Bears and the Bills. But the Bears and Bills game also has really bad weather. 22-mile-an-hour winds in that game. And it's going to feel like, below zero. It's going to feel like negative 14 degrees in the Bills and Bears game. And there's going to be wind over 22 miles an hour. Sustained wind. That means wind gusts well over 22 miles an hour. Like, that has me pretty nervous for the Bears and Cole Kmet. So I'm okay going Ingram over Cole Kmet. Because Evan Ingram, the reason I'm benching Evan Ingram is because of the weather. And the weather for Cole Kmet's even worse. So I'm going with Evan Ingram there. Knight, Pacheco. I think I'd probably go Knight over Pacheco. Rank Evans, Kirk, and DJ Moore. Yeah, I'd probably rank those guys as Evans, DJ Moore, then Kirk. Evans, DJ Moore, then Kirk. I think Kirk is a fringe start. He's a fringe start, not a must start tonight. Again, let me run through my thoughts, high level, my thoughts in this game. The thing you really need to be aware of in this week 16, the second week of the fantasy playoffs in most leagues, is the weather. And really, it's the first three games on the slate. It's the Jaguars Jets tonight. There's going to be sustained winds over 15 miles an hour, wind gusts over 30 miles an hour, plus heavy rain. The Bills Bears, in the 1 o'clock window on Saturday, sustained winds over 22 miles an hour. It's going to feel like negative 15 degrees on the field. Ridiculous. The Saints Browns game, similar situation. It's going to feel like negative 10 on the field. 27 mile an hour sustained winds. Brutal throwing conditions for the Bills, the Bears, the Saints, and the Browns, and the Jaguars, and the Jets. I'm taking the Jaguars plus 2.5 in this game. If the Jets are 2.5 point favorites, I think that line's coming pretty much entirely from the defense stepping up in a bad weather game. But I like betting on the better offense in this game, and I think that the Jets offense could really, really struggle in this one. I think Donovan Knight has an okay floor. I still think Garrett Wilson has a decent floor and ceiling, but everybody else, Zach Wilson, could really crumble in this one. So that's why I'm taking the Jags. I think that Travis Etienne must start. He had 19 carries last week in a game that they were losing the whole time. I think McKinnon can be considered over Etienne, though, seeing that one in the TikTok live. I think I might play McKinnon over Etienne, but it's close. Jags defense, Jets defense, again, bad weather game. Both decent matchups. I think the Jets defense is better, but the Jags defense for fantasy, like Jets defense in real life, is better than the Jags defense, but the Jags defense up against the Jets offense this week in bad weather, I'd start them over the Jets defense. And then some fringe starts. Again, the Donovan Knight, I think he's got a decent floor. I see 12-plus carries for him at least tonight. Not a very good defense in the Jags. But he doesn't catch very many passes. And it might be a pretty one-dimensional offense that's easier to stop tonight. Trevor Lawrence is a fringe start. He's gotten over 20 points in 4 of his last 5 games. But again, bad weather tonight and a really good defense he's up against. Christian Kirk, fringe start. I still see him as the number 1 receiver for this offense. He's at least 7 targets in 5 straight games now. But Zay Jones is the guy that's popped off most recently. So he's right behind Christian Kirk in my mind as a fringe start, not a must start. And then everybody else in this game, guys, don't trust him. Corey Davis, nope. Elijah Moore, absolutely not. Zach Wilson, no thank you. Evan Ingram is the one that I'm getting a lot of pushback on because he's had a really good last 3 weeks. He's been a top 6 tight end each of the last 3 weeks. But guys, the 3 weeks prior to him doing well, he was outside the top 25 tight ends, under 4.5 fantasy points in 3 straight weeks. So half his last games were under 4.5 points. And tonight, there's 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts and heavy rain against a good defense. No thank you to Evan Ingram. I'd rather play Taysom Hill. I'd rather play most tight ends over Evan Ingram this week, personally. Tyler Conklin can't be trusted. Michael Carter can't be trusted. Marvin Jones, Jamal Agnew, these guys are obviously can't be trusted. Kirk or Devontae Smith? Yeah, I'd go Devontae Smith over Kirk. Do you prefer J.K. Dobbins, Dave Montgomery, Aaron Jones, half PPR? Thanks, man. Yeah, I think it's Dave Montgomery here that I prefer the most. He's catching a lot of passes, and he's really been in a workhorse role. But Khalil Herbert did return this past week. Yeah, still 70% snap share for David Montgomery, 12 carries, 3 catches, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns in that game. I think the Bears were they are in one of these games with really, really bad weather though. The Bills' run defense hasn't been anything crazy. I think this is close. I think it's close. I think Aaron Jones is questionable too. I feel best about Dave Montgomery, but it's definitely close. I'd play Travis Etienne over Dave Montgomery though. I would. Guys, that's my time. Thank you so much for tuning in. I battled through through my cough, through my cold for this one. I'm going to be back live tomorrow for a longer live. I'm going to be back live tomorrow for a longer live, and I'm going to be breaking down all the games this week, not just the Thursday night game. It's going to be around 3 or 4 p.m. Eastern. I think that I'll be live, maybe a little later at night, but probably not during the day. Do got a full work day ahead of me tomorrow, but I will be live tomorrow because I'm traveling Saturday to be with family for the holidays. So tomorrow I'll be back live. We'll talk through everything to do with this week. I'm sure Weatherman Sam's going to come out a lot. Guys, good luck tonight. We got to start off the start of round 2 of the fantasy football playoffs. Well, I'll be back live tomorrow. We'll talk very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, as always, time, it's the most valuable thing we have. Thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight. If you haven't hit the subscribe button or the follow button yet, make sure you do that so you don't miss out on the content I'm posting every day and the live streams I'm doing every week. Have a good one, guys, and good luck tonight.